There are moments in the NBA when a signing does not just add depth to a roster, it changes the temperature of the entire locker room. Boston has just made one of those moves, and this time it comes in the form of a player who has already been where every franchise dreams of going twice. A man who knows what it takes to walk into a hostile arena in June and still walk out with a championship ring. Chris Boucher is officially a Boston Celtic, and while the headlines will tell you this is about a bench piece, the real story is about timing, experience, and a skill set that could quietly tilt the balance in the months ahead. The signing comes in the middle of a week when the Celtics were already moving chess pieces with precision. A multi-year extension for head coach Joe Mazzulla locked in leadership stability. A trade sending Georgia's Niang to Utah created strategic flexibility. And now, Boucher steps into a front court that is built not just on size, but on adaptability. The fact that his arrival was announced only after the team parted ways with Miles Norris suggests that Boston's front office had a clear vision and waited for the exact moment to reveal it. That kind of orchestration is rarely accidental. Boucher's story itself reads like something Boston fans can rally behind. Undrafted in 2017, he fought his way into the league, earning a roster spot with Golden State and immediately capturing a championship in 2018. Then, without missing a beat, he joined Toronto and secured another title in 2019, back-to-back rings in back-to-back seasons with two entirely different organizations. That is not just luck. It is the mark of someone who adapts, learns, and contributes in ways that go beyond the box score. In Toronto, he evolved into a high-energy, versatile big man who could stretch the floor. Last season, in 50 games, he averaged 10 points, 4.5 rebounds, and nearly 1 assist per game while shooting just under 50% from the field. Those numbers only scratch the surface. 2021, with 13.6 points and 6.7 rebounds per game. Enough to place him 8th in 6th Man of the Year voting. Yet the deeper value lies in his ability to swing momentum in bursts, whether with a timely block, a hustle rebound, or a corner three when the defense collapses elsewhere. Boston's front court situation. With Kristaps Porzingis recovering from injury, Luke Kornet entering another year of development, and Al Horford's minutes likely managed carefully, there is a lane wide open for Boucher to seize a significant role. He brings championship pedigree, the toughness forged from going undrafted, and the kind of relentless energy that can lift a team in the dog days of the regular season or in the grind of a playoff series. And here is where the curiosity deepens. This is not just about plugging a roster spot. The Celtics have quietly assembled a rotation where almost every player can fill multiple roles, switch across positions, and force opposing coaches into uncomfortable adjustments. Boucher's length and mobility allow Boston to run unconventional lineups that keep pace with the fastest teams while still protecting the rim. If Mazzulla decides to lean into that versatility, Boston could unveil defensive looks that the Eastern Conference has not prepared for, making the postseason path even more unpredictable for opponents. The move also signals something about Boston's long game. Bringing in a player with 2 championship runs on his resume is not only about his minutes on the floor, it is about his voice in the locker room. Younger players can look to him for an example of resilience and preparation. He has shared the court with finals MVPs, handled the pressure of elimination games, and still delivered when called upon. That kind of presence has a way of sharpening focus across the roster. Boston fans are used to seeing headline deals and blockbuster trades. Sometimes the most important acquisitions are the ones that do not make the loudest noise on day one. Chris Boucher's signing may have come quietly on a Sunday night, yet its impact could echo in May and June. The front office sees something in the way he fits this puzzle. And if history has taught us anything, it is that underestimating a two-time the Boston Celtics, bringing in Chris Boucher, might be one of those moments. At first glance, it looks like a standard veteran minimum deal. But beneath the surface, this could be a strategic trigger that reshapes how Boston approaches the MOS. Ahead. Chris Boucher arrives in Boston after closing a 7-year chapter with the Toronto Raptors, stepping into a franchise with expectations that do not tolerate mediocrity. He is 32 years old, yet his game still carries the unpredictable energy of someone who never had the easy path to the league. He joins a Celtics team in a unique and tense moment, one where the balance between stability and reinvention is more fragile than ever. With Jason Tatum recovering from a torn Achilles tendon, the usual safety net of star dominance is temporarily removed, and the Celtics must rely on depth, creativity, and adaptability to keep their championship window wide open. From Boston's perspective, This signing screams intent. You do not bring in a veteran with proven playoff grit and a rare skill set unless you believe you are still in the race to win. Had they been quietly shifting into a year of experimentation, they could have rolled the dice on a raw prospect. Instead, they chose someone who knows the demands of a long season and the pressure of elimination games. That decision alone should tell fans exactly how the front office views this year. For Boucher, Boston is more than just a New Jersey. It is an opportunity wrapped in urgency. The Celtics' frontcourt has been shaken by departures, and while the roster still carries talent, the battle for minutes is far more open than it was just months ago. With Kristaps Porzingis, Luke Kornet, and potentially Al Horford out of the rotation, the paint no longer belongs to familiar faces. After the trade that sent Georges Niang away, the door to meaningful playing time is not just cracked open, it is swinging wide. The question is whether Boucher should step directly into the starting five or serve as a weapon. Off the bench, he will be competing with Sam Hauser for that final starting spot alongside Peyton Pritchard, Derek White, Jaylen Brown, and Neemias Queta. Starting would allow Boucher to immediately set the tone, bringing size and defensive energy to a lineup that has suddenly lost a large chunk of its rebounding power. Tatum's absence removes an 8.7 rebounds per game presence from the regular season, and in the playoffs, that number climbed to an imposing 11.5. That production cannot simply be wished back into existence. It must be replaced by collective effort and intelligent roster choices. Boucher's numbers from last year may not look overwhelming at a glance, but they tell a story when placed in the right context. In just 17.2 minutes per game with Toronto, he averaged 4.5 rebounds while spacing the floor with a three-point shot that fell at 36.3%, the second best mark of his career. Unlike a high-usage scorer, Boucher does not need the ball in his hands to impact the game. He can stretch defenses, protect the rim, and crash the glass without disrupting the flow of star scorers like Brown and White. If Boston empowers him to shoot with confidence the same way Toronto did during his most efficient years, he could give the offense a second layer of spacing that forces opponents to respect every inch of the half court. At the same time, his style offers a different texture than what Sam Hauser brings. Hauser is one of the purest shooters in basketball, his release quick enough to punish even the slightest hesitation from defenders. Boucher's release is slower, but his size makes him a more versatile defender and a more imposing rebounder. The real intrigue lies in the combinations Boston can create. Playing Boucher alongside Queta would give the Celtics a massive defensive front, though the offensive spacing might tighten. Pairing him with smaller lineups could unlock a more aggressive transition game, as his mobility for a big man remains one of his most underrated assets. In Toronto, he proved he could coexist with another non-spacing big like Jakob Poeltl, which hints that Joe Mazzulla could use him in multiple lineup constructions without compromising the team's defensive integrity. The Boston Celtics may have made some moves this summer, but one of the most intriguing pieces of the puzzle is still sitting out there without a contract. Even after the trade for Georges Niang and the addition of Chris Boucher, Boston still has an empty roster spot waiting to be claimed. In recent weeks, names like Ben Simmons and Charles Bassey have been floated as potential candidates to fill that final opening. Yet, according to reports from last week, the Celtics are planning to keep that spot open as the season tips off, just as they have done in several previous years. This time, though, feels different. Not because of panic or desperation, but because the context surrounding this upcoming season is unlike anything Boston has faced in years. The Celtics are entering a campaign where depth, development, and long-term vision will carry more weight than ever before. The team has parted ways with 4 of its 8 most used players from last season, a shift that forces the coaching staff to rethink rotation balance and identify who might form the next wave of key contributors. The mission now is clear. Find the players who can still matter when championship windows swing fully open again in 2 years. That is exactly why the perfect candidate to claim that last roster spot might be hiding in plain sight. Dalano Banton remains unsigned, overlooked by many teams despite a unique blend of size, length, and untapped potential. At 2 meters and 5 centimeters tall, with guard skills, Banton has always been a rare profile in the modern NBA, a player who can disrupt defenses, attack downhill with force, and create mismatches simply by stepping on the court. Boston saw flashes of this firsthand during the 2023 to 2024 season, when Banton suited up for the Celtics in 24 games, contributing in short bursts before being moved to the Portland Trail Blazers at the trade deadline. Once he landed in Portland, everything changed. Freed from a crowded backcourt, Banton averaged over 29 minutes per game, posting 16.7 points and 4.8 rebounds in 30 appearances. That was not just empty production on a losing team, it was a statement of what he could do with real opportunity. It was proof that his game expands when given freedom to create and attack. Something Boston's second unit could desperately use after ranking near the bottom of the league in bench scoring last year. His critics will point to the shooting percentages, just over 40% from the field and barely above 30% from deep. But that is exactly why this is a window the Celtics cannot ignore. Banton's market value is low, his price tag minimal, and his ceiling still untapped. On a roster already loaded with elite perimeter shooting, Boston does not need him to be a catch-and-shoot threat. They need a guard who can drive into the lane, collapse defenses, and finish through contact. They need someone who can shift the energy of a game without relying on three-point variance. Someone who can make defenses uncomfortable in ways the box score does not always show. And then there are the flashes. Who could forget when Banton erupted for 20 points in a single fourth quarter against the Pelicans? Performances like that do not happen by accident. They happen because a player has the competitive engine and the skill base to take over when the moment presents itself. Boston's roster is filled with polished veterans and proven shooters. But there is still room for a player who can break a game open in unconventional ways. Unlike his first stint in Boston, the team is not entering this year with the same win now. Urgency, which means they can actually afford to give Banton consistent minutes. At just 25 years old, he is still young enough to make meaningful leaps in his game. And the Celtics have already proven they can develop overlooked talents into rotation staples. Peyton Pritchard became a spark plug scorer. Sam Hauser transformed into a reliable two-way contributor. And Luke Cornett went from fringe big man to a valuable rotation piece. With the right guidance, Banton could follow that same path. The beauty of this potential signing is that it carries virtually no downside. If Banton finds his rhythm in Boston's system, they will have unearthed a uniquely versatile guard who can impact both ends of the floor. If not, the cost is minimal and the roster spot can be repurposed later in the year. But if they pass on this opportunity and he blossoms elsewhere, it will be the kind of mist that quietly lingers. This is not about filling a vacancy for the sake of completeness. It is about planting seeds for the next championship run. When Jason Tatum returns to lead the charge deep into the playoffs again, the Celtics will need more than just star power. They will need a bench that can change the pace, disrupt opponents, and swing the momentum of a series. Dalano Banton could be one of those pieces. The market has left him waiting. The fit is sitting there, and the upside is calling. Sometimes the smartest moves in the